Hi, Ebal2708. This is the first of a few videos that I'll be making that looks at some of the work we'll be dealing with in terms of Unit 5, Natural Persons, Individuals. So the first one we are going to have a look at is married couples, and the section that we'll be looking at here is section 7.2. You don't have to know the section number. Also important, while my picture over there is very traditional in the sense that it's, a man and a woman, white man and white woman. Of course, spouse for purposes of the Income Tax Act definition is very wide. It not only includes, traditional marriages, that happens in church, for example, according to Western culture. It also includes customary marriages. It includes same-sex relationships or marriages, and also includes long-term relationships. So even though there might not be a marriage contract, because of the permanent nature of the relationship, they can be regarded as spouses. Now in a question, of course, I will always let you know that these people are married. You don't have to know the spouse definition. So in South Africa we get two types of marriages out of community of property and those that are in community of property. Now, marriages out of community of property does not give us any issues in terms of tax consequences, because we will deal with each spouse individually, which means we'll use our normal rules, the framework and calculating the normal tax liability for each spouse separately. For example, my husband and I are married out of community of property, so I have a tax calculation that I have to do every year. He has a tax calculation that he has to do every year, and we don't have to mix any of our information. In community of property marriages, this one is one we need to give attention to, because there are certain types of income that are included into the calculation of both spouses. So we are going to have to look at some special rules for specific types of income, and then we have to split those between the spouses, and after that we will deal with each spouse individually. So if you are dealing with spouses that are married in community of property, if we talk about income from a trade, right? So income from a trade is income other than the letting of fixed property. So if you earn rental income from the letting of fixed property and you are married in community of property, that rental income is not seen as income from a trade. Now, the reason why this is significant for us is because if it is income derived from the carrying on of a trade, it is deemed to accrue to the spouse who is carrying on the trade. In other words, if you have a married couple and the wife trades but the husband does not have a trade, the fact that they are married in community of property has no influence on this part of the calculation, because the trading income is deemed to accrue to the spouse who is carrying on the trade. In other words, if the wife is carrying on the trade, we will treat all income from the trade in her hands, and we won't take any portion of that to her husband. Then there are certain types of income that are deemed to be income derived from carrying on a trade. In other words, these are also types of income that even if we are dealing with spouses married in community of property, we won't split it between them at all. This includes income from retirement funds or preservation funds. In other words, if somebody retires and they receive a monthly pension or an annual pension from their pension or provident or retirement annuity fund, if somebody receives annuities, and it's purchased annuities specifically, so it qualifies for the exemption in terms of section 10A, and then if they derive any income from intangible assets like royalties, etc. So if you have income that comes from patents, designs, trademarks. So the principle is any income from trade, including these specifically, will not be split between spouses married in community of property. Our problem or our challenge lies with rental and non-trade income. In other words, essentially passive type income, right? So if you derive income from the letting of fixed property and any income that is generated from passive activities like interests and dividends, annuities other than Section 10A, those are deemed to accrue to both spouses in equal shares. In other words, we will take that income and we will split it 50-50 between the two spouses. Now, in your Student's Approach to Natural Persons, on page 11, you will find this remember block and this lovely little light bulb that tells you exactly how to do the calculation for spouses married in community of property. So, and there you'll see they again put it out for you. Income from the carrying on of a trade will only be taxed in the hands of the spouse who is carrying on the trade. In other words, we don't split income from a trade. If we have passive type income, local and foreign interest, local and foreign dividends, income from the letting of fixed property, these income will need to be split 50, and that is definitely not a beautiful handwriting, but 50-50. So we'll give each spouse, irrespective of who receives it, because they are married in community of property, we're going to split the income in their tax calculation. Right, let's have a look at an example, example 1.2, and you will see that they give you two spouses, John and Jane. The one is 59, the one is 66. Then they give us a salary for John and then interest received on his savings account, and they don't tell us that anything is specifically excluded from the joint estate. Now, if I have a look at this, and you please should work through this example on your own as part of home tax, but that 150,000 Rand will only be taxed in the hands of John because it's his income from his trade. The 60,000 Rand interest is passive income, right? That's like interest, dividends, annuities. That's not a purchased annuity, rental income. This one, because he is married in community of property, will need to be split by him and his wife. This is what the effect of the calculation is. So look at John. There is his salary that we include in full in his tax calculation. We don't split it between him and his wife, but there's the interest received. And there you'll see we go 60,000 divided by 2 because it's passive income. So 30,000 is taxed in his hands and 30,000 is included in the gross income of his wife. Remember, because it's interest received, both of these taxpayers will qualify for the interest exemption, the basic interest exemption. And please note, exemptions, capital gain inclusion rates, exclusions, etc., etc. We will not apportion those. It's only the income that we apportion. So both of them will qualify for their respective interest exemption. John, because he's younger than 65, will only get 23,800, and then his wife is older than 65, so she qualifies for the 34,500, but we can never give an exemption for more than what was included in gross income, and therefore we will give her a 30,000 interest exemption.